Alright, so in this video we are going to continue talking about math properties. In the last video it was all about addition. In this video it's going to be all about multiplication properties. If you notice, if you remember the last video, and if you're looking at your notes page right now, they are the same names: commutative, identity, and associative. We also have the zero property, which for addition they were calling it the inverse property of addition instead of the zero property. So it's the same four properties, but now we're applying it to multiplication. So you can even see it's using some of the same numbers, and it's the same little symbols as before. So now I have 4 times 5 equals 20, or 5 times 4 equals 20. Well, it doesn't matter which way I multiply those. 4 times 5 is the same as 5 times 4. They're both 20. So I can move them around. Again, as long as it's all multiplication, or like in the last video, it was all addition, I can multiply, sorry, didn't give a big enough space there, in any order. The order of multiplication does not matter as long as it's all multiplication. If we start adding in other pieces there, addition, subtraction, division, that's going to definitely change the order I have to do things. But if it's all multiplication, any order. All right, identity property multiplication changed a little. For addition, it was adding 0 because that wouldn't change the identity. Well, now if I want to multiply by something without changing the identity, I have to multiply by 1. So multiplying by 1 does not change the identity of the number. It stays the same because it doesn't change anything at all. 3 times 1 is just 3, or any number times 1 is itself. Associative property, same idea. We have those same groupings of little people that we had in the last one, where associative is all about grouping and how I'm moving the grouping around. Not just moving the numbers around, that's commutative. But if I move the entire grouping, now I'm talking about the associative property. Which one are they grouped with? So in this top one, I have 2 times 5 grouped together times 4. And that gives me 40 because it's 10 times 4 is 40. On the bottom, I have 2 times 5 times 4, and now 5 times 4 are grouped. And that still gives me 40 because 5 times 4 is 20. 20 times 2 is still 40. So it doesn't matter how I group them. It's all multiplication again. I can multiply them in any order I want. So the grouping of multiplication problems will not change the product. So it's not going to change the outcome there just by changing the grouping. And then we have the last one here, zero property of multiplication. So if I multiply by 0, I get 0 every time. Okay, so multiplying by 0 will equal 0. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the example down here. So we have 9 times something equals 4 times 9. Well, if I want them to be equal, I need to make sure I'm using the same number. So I have 9 and 9. So that means that this missing number must be my 4, because I want to get the exact same answer on both sides. And all I've done is switch to the position. I've moved them around, the numbers, not the grouping. So that's my commutative property, because I'm moving the numbers, but I'm still multiplying them all. I'm just multiplying them in a different order. 3 times something equals 3. So I'm not changing the identity. It's 3 equals 3. So the only thing I can multiply here would be 1, because the identity is not changing. All right. 0 times 8 equals anything times 0 is going to be 0. And that is our zero property. And I believe it's going to have the whole kind of property multiplication on there. When you do this drop down, it's not just going to say commutative. It's going to say commutative property of addition, commutative property of multiplication, identity property of addition, identity property of multiplication. So make sure you're choosing the correct one. It's going to have property of on the end of it. I'm just being a little bit lazy on this notes page because we're specifically talking about multiplication. So I wasn't writing property of multiplication after each one. All right, this bottom one, I have 2 times 3 times 6 with 3 and 6 grouped, and then 2 times 3 grouped times another number. So remember, it's all multiplication, and I want them to be equal, so they need to be the same on both sides. So I have 2 and 2. I have 3 and 3. So this missing number has to be 6. All I did was move the grouping around. I did move the numbers, though. They're still in the same order. 2, 3, 6, 2, 3, 6. So this is not commutative because the numbers are still in the same order. What I did was change the grouping. So this is associative property of multiplication. All right, so those are our 4 properties of multiplication. And go ahead and go give it a try on Alex.